Okay, so 2029. So you're 30 minutes ahead of me. Where were you at?
I'm in Kansas City.
All right, so you had one at 1900, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go back and let's go ahead and mark that off.
It, it,
So
it put it on there. It took it away.
yeah, so it's
And
building
then the next
momentum.
trade did the same thing.
You want to get into it, when it starts to build momentum, and the more they come, then the more they're growing, right? So let's go down to my 1900, and I just want to mark this box off so we can start this move. Okay, so this is how it works. When you get the alert, obviously you come here. We don't see at the current time, we don't see the green moon on there, but we can see that it's pushing on it, right? So now what you would do is when you get the alert, right, you post it. So now you go over here to Discord, you slide down to the 1 hour team alerts, and we would just type in theta 1 hour green moon, right? Now everyone is
That
kind
was
of,
what you ID'd earlier.
you see, oh yeah, 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 okay, quant, right? Okay, perfect. So now what that does is if I'm just,
I actually got into. Sorry,
go
waste your
ahead.
time. I got into both of those. They went up and they dropped me out as I dropped my stop limit up to my entry point, so I zeroed out.
Yeah, yeah. So right now you're learning just to, work the system, which is good. Now, as we're going to walk through this to get you a little more ideals, but we're not going to too many tips. We're just going to work on basics. So remember, when you first come into the first trade, when it's starting to hit, it is the beginning of the trade. What leverage are you using right now?
Sorry, back to the 1 hour.
No, no, leverage. Like, are you using futures?
Oh, leverage. I did. I think put 25 on that first one.
Okay. So when you start off, guys, hey, welcome in TikTok. Miss Buttercream. What's going on, man? Now, what we need you guys to do, guys, if you're in TikTok, man, hit the like buttons real quick, and don't forget to share the live. We're gonna dig in here for a quick hour. And so remember, when the alerts start coming, brother, the very first alerts that are coming are young alerts. They're new alerts, right? Meaning that it's still going to be pulling back and going. It still has its up and downs, right? So a lot of times when you're trading just the moon, right? We need a trend. The reason why we wait for the trend is because we need the turbulence to get out of the coin, right? You never know what the turbulence is going to be like. It could be massive wicks, it could be minimal wicks. It all depends on the size of the coin and the amounts that are being moved, right? So a lot of time when you get into an early trade like a moon, then what you would do is you'd be knowing that you're going to have to be in this position for a while. So you would use something closer to like a 10x leverage, and you would be, keeping your stop loss at like 30x. Okay. And because you're not gonna, like, when you get it to what percent did it move up to when you moved your stop loss? How high did it get?
It went up to just over 20%, and then
Okay.
I brought my stop loss up to my entry point.
Okay. So this is a good.
It was almost to 27%. I was going to bring it up, but I didn't. It didn't get there.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I was about to actually cover that. So a lot of times what we do, that's so funny. Okay, so a lot of times what we do is on the first move, like the early move right here, we would be setting profits for actually 27%. Okay. So what you're seeing here is you set a take profit at 27. I normally do 25, 26, 27. 27 is the perfect number to kind of set. And then that's kind of like the first, peak that you hit, right? So this is all about like taking short profits in the pumps and then resetting, right? So you're learning how to just like, milk a little bit, right? So let's go take a deeper look. So it did, I'm glad. So this is the part of like watching, because this is where you learn the percentages, right? So you're using a 20, what was the leverage?
I think 25.
25x. Okay. So you got to use a 30x leverage and then put your profit taking at 27 when you first get moon alerts, okay? Now, just to break down, that way you're getting a quick 30, 27% on your push. And most of the time when it's pushing up there, push a little bit past that. But you want to get that 27% profits on that first move, right? So No, it's working there. So this is with the importance of understanding leverage, right? Now, had you had your leverage at 50, which is where you're going to get to, then that 25% move would have been what? 50%. See what I'm saying? So this is how easy it is to get your 50% gains, right? So now we have an alert going off here that we have the theta, right? So now let's go over here. Now, first things first, right? RSI, stochastic RSI, the 1 hour is headed up. We're good. We run a check. The 30-minute is headed on a reversal here, which is good. And the 15-minute we want to be heading up, right? Which it is, right? So a lot of times if I got the alert on theta, right, which would be about in this area here, what I would do is I would let my 15-minute pull back. And then when the 15-minute RSI started to head up there, this is where I would take my entry, right? It would be in this little zone here. So somewhere around this little spot here. So far we look pretty good here. Theta looks really good. And then just to, clear off all entries that we do as you move forward when you watch the videos, all entries we do are based on 3-minute moons, 3-minute trends, right? So here you can see we caught a 3-minute moon here, which would have gave us an entry point, and then the 3-minute trend. So we should be in this trade somewhere around here, right? So if you go back to the 1900 hours, you would see right here on the 1900 hour mark, you were in a trade. So when you got that alert, you would have seen a green moon here on the 3-minute. You would have seen a 3-minute green trend, and then you would be enter somewhere in this section here, and you would have took advantage of that first move. All right. So because it's early in the game and we don't have a trend yet, we're always going to get a pullback, right? Now the key to this is, kind of like there'll be more tips as we go, but we don't want to overthink this, right? But just kind of like in general, since it's an early move, then we can see how strong the move is based on the pullbacks, right? It keeps pulling all the way back to its original price here, then we can see that it's very weak, and then more than likely, it's probably going to run a course of trying to get up and then end up being a short, right? You ever hear the version where they say higher highs, higher lows? So you just want to start keeping in mind, like as you're watching the alerts come in and you see the 3-minute moon and 3-minute green trend, you can go after a quick trade. But the key to that is that it's going to need at least 50x leverage, and you're going to set your profits for 30%. So because it doesn't have that much gas to grow, but you're practicing just getting those quick moves. And then once you get above 20%, move your stop loss to like the 10 area, just so that you're, chipping away at the basics. Okay. So it's kind of like the simplicity. Now we see this first move, nice big move to the top. Now that that one's done, we have a red moon that comes in on 3-minute. There's the pullback. And then now we have a green moon that comes in that would put us somewhere in this area here. If we were watching the 3-minute RSI pull up, we'd be somewhere on an entry point right in here, right? So now, because we are working on an early trade, we have to be very conscious of, understanding that we don't have a 1 hour moon and a trend, right? So it's kind of very, very early, right? So if we go back to the 1 hour, we can see that we have a moon that's flashing, right? But we don't have a moon that is solid yet. So, but the 1 hour RSI has room to wake up. The other thing that I want to look at just kind of on the overall is I'll take a look at my 4 hour just to see the, how much pullback's going to be. And if you do have the 4 hour in your favor, that just means you're in a good spot for the position that you want, right? If it's against you, then you need to be more aware that it's you need to let it develop more to gain momentum, right? But since this one is kind of in our favor there with the 4 hour, we know that these pullbacks should be actually getting less and less, and we're heading towards a good trade here, right? So what I would do here is I would let my 3-minute moon and trend hit, right? And then I would allow, since the RSI is already towards the top, I would allow the 3-minute RSI to come all the way back down, and then that's where I would take an entry point, and then I would ride that next move. So I would let that pull back, and then I would take advantage of, if I'm going to do a trade, that momentum, right? You see how it's already bending right there? So it's starting to build momentum here. So it's a good sign that this trade is actually getting ready to do something, right? So we have a 1-minute green moon trade coming up. we can see that the momentum on the 3 minute is building. And to enter, we need a 3 minute green moon, a 3 minute green trend, which would have been right here. Now, we didn't catch that trade at that time. So now we're letting the RSIs, pull down and reset to give ourselves a best possible entry scenario for our moon. So far, go ahead.
Can you explain how we see a trend, like a red trend and a green trend? How we identify that?
Yeah, yeah. Do you have your indicators yet?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, so that should
I have
be
everything set up.
all right. Now, do you have this? Did he also add this line here?
Yep,
Okay, so that should be your. You should see that right there. Do you see that it's green right now?
yep.
Okay, so
The
that
line goes green to red.
yeah, that's your trend right there.
Okay, I got you.
So right now,
That's your trend line. Green.
yeah. So all entries are the same. 3 minute moon, 3 minute trend. That's the entry point, right? Which would be right in here. So that's kind of like the first part of the entry. Now, if the RSI on the 3 minute at that time is a little bit high, I want to let it start to move down. And then when it starts to get to its, see how that money line right there is bending up right there? That's an early sign of volume coming in. So I'm going to watch this pull up, and then it doesn't matter where it goes here. It's gotta come back a little bit. And then when this resets down here, we're going to get an entry point for the next moves that we're looking for, right? So it's always about, watching the momentum build, right? So that's kind of like the key. So we know we have we know where there's a moon trend trade coming. We still need a moon and a trend. So keep in mind on the big frame, just so you can kind of always have this in your mind, is that when you get a 1 hour moon, you see how we got our 1 hour moon? You're always going to have a move to the up, right? And then in order to get the trend going, there has to be some type of pullback, and then it's the next move. So remember, the trades always go up, then they pull back, right? And then they reset to the next move, right? So now that we know that, mhm, go ahead.
When you see that on the 1 hour, and then
Mhm,
you go back and look at the 30 minute, and it looks good. Then 15 minute, it looks good.
mhm.
And then the three, do you just sit there and wait for the three, or do you go back and check and keep an eye on that
No, you don't
that
have to go back because you're starting with the bigger time frames. So if you're looking at the 30, the 15, that's 5 3 minute candles. So once you get down to the 3 minute, you're just waiting for that to set. Now, if it struggles and it doesn't set and time goes by, well, that will change the scenario as you go, right? Because every trade can turn into the opposite trade. So you can be waiting on a long trade, and then after a while, it becomes a short, right? It all depends on how the price action goes, right? So right now, if let's say we don't get this, 1 hour trend, right? And this fights this entire time, and the candle 1 hour RSI gets to the top and starts to head down. Well, the long that we were waiting for just became a short. See what I'm saying? That's why when we're looking here during the 3 minutes, what we're kind of doing is we're just assessing the volume, right? And so far, we've had a moon, a push, a pullback, but that pullback wasn't that big. So when the Fibonacci's, right? You see my Fibonacci's? So when you're looking at the 3 minute, you guys see these right here, these Fibonacci's? You guys see those? So when you do the Fibonacci's,
Yes, sir.
yeah, kind of like the ideal is to be like this, right? So normally you get to a situation where most traders want this to come back to the 5 line. Okay, so what the Fibonacci's are, right? You have the 786, 618, and the 05, right? And what the importance of these is that when it's marked from the point of beginning, which is the beginning of this move up, and the move starting to come down right there, is that this move here that it made from this point to this point, a pullback of 50% of that move would be at the 0.5 line. That's what that kind of means, like a 50% pullback, right? A 61% pullback would be here, a 78% pullback would here. See how that works? Most of the time, anytime there's a push up, there's always a 50% pullback, and that's where most people will set for an entry, and then they will make that move up, because what that means is more than likely, you ever heard of the term double top, right? So more than likely, a coin will double top before it goes back the other way. So what this allows people to do is take a look at this line here, measure it up to the double top, which would be that top. If that's a 1% move, then they know if they're doing a 50x, that's a 50% gain just to the normal area. And if it extends past that, they can easily get, to 100%, right? So the very first thing is just understanding that on the move, there's always a pullback, right? And the pullback area that we normally look for is going to be the 50 line, right? Now, the bonus to this is, as you kind of learn, is, it's nice to understand what everybody else is doing. So most traders will, you'll hear a lot of people, if you're ever on YouTube, they talk about getting the second move. The first move, the second move is here, and then it goes up, right? So majority of traders who didn't get in on the first move, they're waiting for the bounce. That would be considered the second move. Now, if you have more things included with that, just we're not going to get too much into it, but like when you have a 200 moving average, and that also seems to be coinciding with where your bounce would be, that just means that it's a higher likelihood that, that bounce is going to happen at that point, right? Because normally a moving average acts as support. So far, this all looks like we're going to get a pull down to this area here, which is about, the price would be $1, $6. And then that's where we would see the bounce to the upside if we're going to make one, right? Now, for us, with the indicators, we're just sitting at a point where we're just waiting for our indicators to kind of like line up. So for us to make a trade here, we're going to need the green moon, green trend, the push. We already had one move up. Now the pullback, right? We need this to either bounce off and stay green and then go up, and the RSI come down and start to head up. But if we get a red moon here, right, and it pulls back even further, when it becomes a green moon, because we already have a green trend, we would be entering on the 3-minute green moon to the push up, because you don't need a 3-minute green trend if you already have it. See what I'm saying? So far, business as usual. We're just letting the pullbacks go, right? Now, on an overall basis, kind of like we call A trades, right? A trades are like this, right? You want the RSI on the 4-hour to be in your favor, right? Meaning crossing in your favor. This is about to cross to the upside. So that would make this where this would be what we consider an A trade, meaning that, this might be a trade that we can get into and have a little more, force with it. And then to have, the 2-hour in your favor too, right? So let's say if you only have the 2-hour in your favor, which is really all you need here. You can see the 2-hour RSI bouncing off the bottom. You can say that, okay, I got a solid B trade, right? But when you have an A trade with the 4-hour also about to cross in your favor, that just means that you have your percentages of being correct on what you're doing is a lot higher. So far we have a solid B trade with the 2-hour coming up. The 4-hour looks like it's going to cross and become a 1-hour, a 4-hour A trade. So far this looks like a really good trade. So now we're just waiting for the basics to clear out, right? So we have the pullback, which we're getting. We can set, entries here on the next 3-minute green moon, right? Because you can see it's pulling back. Now, the mistake that most people make is that they would see this push up. You see how there was a fake to the downside, and then there was a fake from there up. So that's where they trap a lot of inexperienced traders, because market makers know that most traders trade on a push up. They wait for the pullback and look at the retest. 1, 2, 3. And if you do know anything about trading, you know that when you see a candle hit something 3 times, it normally means the reversal, right? So a lot of people would have got caught in this pullback here and said, oh, this is my entry. And then you put some leverage on it, and what happened? So for us, we're letting our RSIs reset on the 3-minute, because that's kind of like a safety feature for us, right? We want the 3-minute RSI to reset, and then we buy when the 3-minute starts to head back up. See what I'm saying? You want to buy with momentum, buying with momentum. Now things start to change as you are buying or looking to buy, and this becomes a red moon. Well, that changes our entry because now, see how the red moon is? So now this is even further pullback, right? Which is good because we already know that we have a target here of, 50% here of the pullback, $1.06. So we're already kind of prepared for that pullback. But for us, we don't have to be too emotional because what I really need is for this 3-minute RSI to bounce and head up, and then this to be in my favor, right? So that 3-minute RSI gets to the bottom here, starts to head up, and then the money line starts to head up, and it doesn't gets rid of that red moon. Then we'll be taking an entry somewhere in this point here and doing our original move, right? But now we're starting to get a red moon, so this letting us know that this is still early in the move. Don't forget, the trades that we're looking for are what? We're looking for a 1-hour green moon and then a pullback. All right, so a trade would be like this: a 1-hour green moon. Then we would see a pullback from the 1-hour green moon, and then we would see a green trend pop up, and the green trend is our entry, right? So far we're just getting the push of volume from the green moon. We don't have a green trend yet, which means what? There has to be a pullback, right? So you see how we can already, kind of put that in our mind. We have a 3-minute green moon, so we need a pullback in order to get a green trend. So that's kind of what's happening. So this coin, sheesh. So right now this coin is just building momentum, right? Don't forget it's an early trade. It's just starting to happen. This is why we operate on the 1-hour time frame. Is just okay. Now look here. Look at it. So you got your 3-minute red trend here, right? So now it's getting a bigger push down, right? So the reason why we operate on the 1-hour time frame is because the 1-hour time frame is the middle of all moves, right? Meaning that it's kind of like the equator of the times. So it allows us to it has the most momentum kind of built up to it, which allows us to trade in a higher percent of accuracy, right? So for instance, let's say if we're operating and we start saying, you know what, I'm gonna trade the 2-hour, right? Which means we would set an alert on the 2-hour moon, right? Which we don't have yet. And then what'll happen is you'll see this coin actually as the 2-hour starts to develop, it'll become stronger with the 2-hour coming together. And then the trade will be a lot more safer because the momentum is already built up. See what I'm saying? So the 1 hour is a good time frame to kind of work from because it allows you to have a little more patience and also puts you in a predicament where you can assess it a lot better, right? So the higher the time frame, the more momentum there is, and that's really what kicks everything off. So that's kind of where we're at there. So when we go back to the 1 hour, don't forget the trade that we're doing is the 1-hour moon with a trend. We're not getting that, and you can see here the moon is starting to go away. And if this 1 hour gets to the top and starts to head down, well, then we're looking at a different type of trade. If this 15 minutes starts to head down, which it looks like, see the money line there on the 15 minutes starting to come down. So if we start coming towards a 15-minute red moon, then this could be an even further pull back, right? And this is just, remember, this is the beginning of a trade. So in the beginning of a trade, you're going to have a channel, right? So let's see if we can see here. So basically, this would be a channel that's growing inside of here. I don't need fib channels. I need, what do I need? Parallel channels, right? So in reality, you'll see people draw lines like this, and then they'll come down to here and find some support and resistance, and then that would be what's called a channel, right? And inside this channel, you can see we broke from the channel to the top of the channel. We came back, touched the bottom of the channel, broke through the middle of the channel, rejected from the top, and now we're fighting our way through this middle part of the channel. Now, if it holds the middle channel right there and starts to head back up, then we're getting closer to building momentum to break out, right? So the beauty of this is like we cover kind of like all the instincts that people are like looking at, but in reality, I'm just me, I don't have to really chart all that out. I just need my indicator to tell me when it's ready. And so far, it's not ready, right? We don't have a 1 hour moon and trend. So currently, that's not ready. So on the overall, you're kind of right. This one is just in what we call a consolidation zone because we can't really short it because the 4 hour is kind of creeping there, but it's getting weak, and the 2 hours bouncing to the upside. So we need that to bend down. So we're just kind of waiting on the thing, right? So you're getting an early alert on the moon, and now you got to wait for that trend. So a good trade on the up and coming side. Mapping out, we can see that we have some support in this area. So what we need here is a green moon and a green trend to come back for us to get into the next move to the upside. So the first move here, and this is where you want to measure, right? So we got a green moon here and we got a green trend. So by waiting for that, we could have played that first 3 minute green moon, green trend. Now this is important because this is how you find a coin that makes money, right? So I want to trade a coin that if I'm in a trade with a 3 minute green moon, green trend, I want to trade a coin that has a move that pays out, right? So my first look is I always like to go to the 3 minute, and you can see that in those videos of how to pick a coin. And I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at some 3 minute moves, right? So, and all I really need is the trend, right? So go here and I see the 3 minute trend. I say, okay, if this turned into a trend and I got in here, does that move 1%? And moved a 0.5%, right? So then I go down to my next one. I say, okay, let's see this trend. That trend turned green, right? Somewhere in here. That was only this move. So then I go down here. And what I'm looking for is that every time that trend turns green, on average, does this coin do a 1% move? Like you see how theta is doing a 0.6? So a lot of times if I'm doing my trend trade, I'm only at a 0.5% here. So it's, on average, it's not giving me, the greatest return. See how it's 1% on a really big move? So this is probably why I don't trade theta. So theta would be a coin that I probably won't trade because that 3 minute isn't giving me enough percent. Does that make sense? I want to see 1.5%, right? And let's go look at this other coin, right? So let's go look at ARB, right? Now when I come to ARB and I go right to the 3 minute, okay, let's say if just randomly, if I'm just trading the trend, right? We can see the 3 minute trend here. We're on the 3 minute time frame. And if I get into here, and I want to go a little bit higher, then I want to go to the top of that first candle and say, okay, if I got that trade, now you see the difference here? 1%. Now I come over here, trend turns green, I get the top of that candle. This is a terrible trade, but look how my terrible trade is 0.5, right? Which is good. Now I go over here and say, okay, let's see this trend here. I get in here. And what I'm looking for is like, where am I at with those trades, right? So that's a half. And I keep going down. And I just want to make sure that as I'm looking at my trends, am I getting, above, see how this looks like a really terrible trend trade right there, but it ends up squeaking out like, almost a 0.6, right? And that's like a tiny move. So that's where I want to like look at my coin and say, okay, so in the case of scenarios, if I'm just doing trend trades, this one's 7. I want everything above at least a 0.7 to 0.1 on average. Like I really want to have a 1.5%, right? So here's a trend trade here, goes up 1%. I want to make sure that I'm kind of seeing those 1%ers because remember, we're operating in a 1% zone, right? 1% is our target, right? So far, ARB is not a bad one. It's about 30% better than theta, right? So that's not the biggest, not a super one that we like, but worth the trade, right? Here, so you see how here you got a 3 minute trend trade. This thing went for 0.54. So when you see that, that lets you know that if you're trading the 3 minute trend, you're going to have to operate with a 75x leverage. Because if it only moves a 0.5%, that means you're on a 7, you're only going to get half of your move, right? So if you have a 75x leverage, that means you're going to be working around 40%. And remember, we want to target 30%, 27%. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of where you can see a coin and go, oh, okay, let me think about that one, right? So let's go here and look at, let's go look at the coin alerts, right? So let's jump into coin alert and let's take a look at what's popping tonight. Let's see here. Welcome in, guys. I got the VPN part. Let me get you set. Where you at, man? All right, I got the VPN part, the password. I set everything up, but it glitches. It doesn't want to accept. All right, we're gonna take a look at that in a little bit. VC talk here after the show. Yes, yes, sir. All right, guys, don't forget to share the live. Hit the likes on there. Let's get that up there. Mad Money, what up, baby? All right, let's go over to our coins here, and let's get into some, coin alerts, right? So right now, let's go slide through. We have H bar 2-hour RSI, 2-hour RSI. Okay, here's a Luna red moon, SNX, Luna green moon. Okay, so you see how these Lunas, I like to have multiple Lunas. That means it's kind of moving. All right, so let's go to Luna real quick and take a peek at that trade. Luna. Is that Luna? Is that Luna, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, Luna. All right, so Luna. There we go. All right, let's pull that up. So now when I go here, I'm going to look at my 1 hour. And I can see here that I'm getting my 1 hour green moon. Now I got my 1 hour red moon. But I want to show you on the 3-minute how it looks as far as like if I'm just trading trends, right? So here's a Luna trend here. And trend comes in, I'd be alerted in here. And okay, see how that's 1.3 on there? Then I come down here, see this Luna trend again. If I trade this trend, I'm in here. And now I'm working at almost 1%, 0.8. Here's another trend. See this trend there. And what I'm doing here is I'm just looking at these really small trends, and I'm cracking 1% here, right? You see this little trend right there? Get into that trade. This one gives about 0.64. So this just gives me an idea of, this is why you can kind of like look at leverage and know, what you need to do. This one, but you see how like the other ones are giving me 1.5. So they're not too shabby. Look at this one here. So out of 1.67, 1%. So if I did 10 of these trades, 7 of them would break above 1%, right? And so Luna is actually a good coin to trade, right? So this is where you can trade and you can take advantage of a 50x, right? But this is where it's important understanding that setting your target for 27% profits is key, especially in the beginning of a trade because it doesn't have a lot of momentum. But as it builds momentum and it gets a little more behind it, then you can make different moves. So let's take a look at the coin. That makes sense, bro? Red moon, red moon, red moon, red moon, red moon. All right, so Luna red moon. All right, so let's go over here. So 1 hour red moon. So what I want you guys to focus on here is just the basics in there. So we're still getting 1 hour red moons. There was a green set here. We got the 1 hour here. So this is Luna continuation of a downtrend, right? So 1 hour downtrend, RSI headed down, 15-minute crossing down, 30-minute getting weak. All right. So now for me, it would just be like looking at the 4 hour just to see that the 4 hours crossing down. Looks like we're going to get a 4 hour red moon. So Luna looks like it wants to give up. 2 hour headed down. So all the big boys are in my direction. The 1 hour is heading down. So really all I need is my 15-minute, which is crossing. I want to operate off a 3-minute. So for me, I would take this entry into this Luna short. And all I would do here is I would allow the 3-minute to play out. So I just want the 3-minute RSI to get to its top, right? And then whenever it decides up there, I'll take advantage of the move down, and that'll be the move. Because I already have a green moon, a red moon, and a red trend, right? So I just need the RSI to push up, which it's doing, and then I would be playing the downward turn, right? So now while that's doing that, I can go over to my trade. Let's see what we got here. All right. Pull up Luna. So on Luna, I want to be operating around 75x and want to start getting into this trade here. Now for me, because I'm sharing everything, the live and everything, it's going to be a little bit slower for me. So I got to be a little bit quicker on these actions. So I can see here that we have the money line starting to head down here. Looks good. I can see my 3-minute RSI is bending. So right there tells me that we're starting to head towards what we want to see. So I'm going to buy a position there at 72.43, 72.45, and that's where we're going to kind of freeze our price on this level here. So when you go to get into a trade, always ask for more money, right? So currently the price is 72.44. So I'm going to type this in and I'm going to go to 72.55 and I'm going to put an order there, right? So my first entry, we're doing 25% of the 100. That's the first entry there, and that's where we're at. And now I'm going to set my other entries a little bit higher. And we're going to purchase in and get in when we can get this Luna 3-minute RSI to cross back down. That's where we're kind of looking at here. So far it's just working its way together. Now, this is another thing that we can take a look at here. You can see earlier we had a 3-minute move, right? And you're going to notice these same patterns everywhere. 3-minute move to the top, right? The pullback is normally to the 5 or the 1.6 line, right? We got that. There's our pullback. Now it's bouncing, right? And the bounce normally takes it a little bit high. You see how the RSI has just changed, right? It's resetting itself because now it thinks it's going down. So the pullbacks would normally come up to this area here, which is about a 5 line at about this point. And notice when the RSI is actually switched, right? It's switching around because it's expecting this to become a bounce at the 5 line. And then from here, it would expect it to start to head its way back towards the other way. So just kind of like always put in your mind that every trade works the same pattern, right? It has to have a move to the top, has to have a secondary move, and then you're looking for higher highs, higher lows, just in the mindset, right? And for us, all we're doing is playing our indicators, right? So right now we have all our indicators looking on the downside. We're just waiting for the 3-minute to play out, and then we'd be looking for a downward move in here to the downside. Let's see. So as you guys kind of move along, get a little bit better and better, and we have more patience, we'll start waiting for the moons to kind of come in there. Like, don't forget we have theta jumping off here. I'm going to go back to theta real quick. Okay. Now remember theta, we're operating for a 1-hour green moon, and then we're looking for that green trend to come in. So far, the green moon is right there. And, you know, at the end of the day, it seems to be holding its position, right? So we can see here. So remember earlier, you see how that played out? Look at that perfectly. So we would have set our buy on that. So you remember that earlier? So earlier we were talking about this pullback, right? And remember we were talking about the 200 moving average? Boom, right there. So this is where you can, you know, kind of like understanding where, you know, entries will be. This seems to be the entry point here, which was $1.06, right? Now, hits that $1.06, bounces up. So more than likely, we're going to get a repeat of that move. So it pushes up. Notice how it hit the 5 line, right? 5 line is going to bring it to where it should retrace back down and somewhere in that area there, and then eventually, you know, start to, you know, build momentum where it should break out. All right, so this is why when you look at a coin, guys, you gotta realize that you're never like you don't need to jump a trade. Trades always come back, right? They're always retouching their earlier setup, right? So theta, with that same move, except, you know, the beautiful thing about having the indicators is that we don't get caught in these emotional trades, right? So let me ask you guys. So Discord, you guys can hear me, right? So when you've seen theta going up and everything looked good, right? And then you had the pullback there. How many of you guys would have got that trade right there thinking that's a bounce?
Probably.
Yeah, it looked good, right? And the one thing we didn't really would have thought of is that it would have had this type of pullback, which is almost the entire original bounce, right? So when you have those indicators kind of pushing it up, we have to have a 3 minute RSI reset and a 3 minute green moon green trend. We didn't have that, so we couldn't get an entry. And here we go again. It touches this area. Then normally we would enter here because most people would set buy orders there because that's a common entry, right? The support line is right there and the RSI is right there and it has a 200 moving average right there. So most people who would be buying this trade would be buying that area, right? So now it bounces, and now what they're going to do is most traders are going to set their buy at that level there at $1.630, and they're going to buy that zone because you ever heard people talk about the W, right? So a W or an M pattern is a lot of patterns that guys look at, right? So kind of like this. This is the upside down M. Pulls to one position, goes to the middle, bounces back, and then makes its move to its other spot. So the patterns are always here, but once you kind of understand the patterns that you're looking for, and then you use the indicators to confirm what you're doing. Now, if you've never traded a day in your life and you don't understand candles, patterns, or any of these other things, then what you would simply do is just be like, well, I'm just waiting for a 3 minute green moon green trend, right? So you're still in the same scenario, but you're just more disciplined because there's nothing for you to kind of push here. You just have to wait for your position to play out, right? So that's kind of like the basics. You're just waiting on your position to play out. And so far, theta, we're just waiting for that 3 minute green moon green trend to come back. And then as long as the 1 hour stays in its role, then we're good. But you can I see here how the 1 hour is starting to get to the top there. So now it's starting to come where this is looking more like it's failing to have a breakout. And more than likely, we're going to get a pull down even further here. And then before it makes its run, it doesn't have a lot of volume. It doesn't have a lot of momentum. That's why the indicators aren't triggering to a push, is because it doesn't have any momentum or any price action to do it, right? So you have a trade here on theta, the 2 hour moon, right? And one thing that you want to keep in the back of your mind is that it's like having it's like playing, spades. Like there's only so many cards you can play. So inside of here, there's only so many trades that this can do. Now, the thing about theta is we have a 2 hour moon and a 2 hour trend that already happened, right? And that produced a push to the top, a pullback, and then a second move. Now, when we're looking at this, we can see here that we have already had a second move on this 2 hour, right? Meaning that it's kind of weak here, right? And we might be out of that trade there. So if we slide down, look at a 4 hour, right? The 4 hour moon came in, but the 4 hour trend never came in, right? So that might be the last trade that we're looking here, is we're looking for that 4 hour trend to hit for our last pump to maybe retouching the $1.08 and then heading back down, right? So let me see. So I can go here because like we want to look at possibilities where there's like multiple trades that can happen, right? Here we kind of already have we need a 4 hour moon and trend. Here we have a 3 hour moon and the 3 hour trend already happened. The 2 hour moon, right? That's kind of where we're at here. We have a 2 hour moon coming and we need a 2 hour trend, right? So that looks like it's probably going to coexist with the 4 hour. So we'll catch a 4 hour moon and trend, and that'll give us our last push to the side. All right. And then we have the 1 hour coming in. So it's not too shabby, but we can see that, it's kind of like getting exhausted here, right? See that?
Pretty weak though.
Yeah, yeah. So now you can start saying to yourself, like, man, I might slide into maybe it'd be a position here to look at look at it more of a short position, right? So for instance, let's go look at Luna, right? So once you start looking at it, Luna, we still need the same thing. We need a 3-minute moon, 3-minute trend. But let's look at the overall. Take a look at my 4-hour, right? 4-hour here, I have a 4-hour moon. And you can see here at Luna, I already have a 4-hour trend, right? So that trade already happened. So this is moving towards the opposite there. Now I go to my 3-hour, and I have a 3-hour trade here, 3-hour moon, 3-hour trend. I got a 3-hour red moon in here, right? Which is why we're getting weak value. Now I go to my 2-hour. Do I have a 2-hour trade? The 2-hour actually just turned red on us, right? So which means the 2-hour trade is a negative red value. Go to my 1-hour. And now I'm over here going, okay, I got a moon, but I'm actually sitting on a 1-hour red moon and a trend, but it's the second one. Here's the first 1-hour moon, 1-hour trend. There was a pullback, a bounce, now another pullback, right? So if I'm looking at this point here, I can see that we're in a consolidation mark. It's not really doing too much, but normally what that'll mean is that if it breaks this trend, which is what is going on right there, then this thing will head towards the downside. So as I'm watching here, I got my 1-hour. Now I look at my 30-minute, and I can see I have a 30-minute red moon, red trend. So those trades are kind of like exhausted. So the trade that I would like to have got in here would have been this red moon and this red trend. That's the trade I would have liked to get in. I should have been in here somewhere. Now this already bounced once, and that's the second move, right? So first move, right? You guys can, you're always going to see two moves. First move down, second move up, and then we caught that next move down. It's always two moves. Now that that's kind of exhausted, the third move came in and pushed up, and then that's where I would want to get in on my next short, which would have been in here somewhere, right? So now I'm kind of like on the tail end of this second move, right? And that's where we can see right here, we're crossing over on the 15. So this looks like it wants to continue on and bring down and probably touch the 0 again, right? So Luna looks like it's also working its way down. So all the trades that we want to take on these are already kind of like exhausted on there. So that's kind of like where we're at with those trades. So when we look at them, we want to say to ourselves, okay, let me let this reset. I'm gonna come back when this actually has trades that we want, right? And that's kind of where we look at the 1-hour. It's in between everything. So for the 1-hour for Luna, we would just set a 1-hour alert for the 1-hour trend on the moon. And that's something we would look for on the other side. So sometimes you'll get to trades where guys say, how many trades we do a day? Well, sometimes you can do 30 trades a day. Other days you're in consolidation. So this market right now, based on the time frame right now, it's just consolidating. And that's where we're also, if you notice at the coin alerts, we had a lot of alerts, right? You can look at all these moon alerts. See all these moon alerts? So take a look at your times, right? So if we go back, it started at 4 o'clock today. See? See all these moons? 4 o'clock. All right, so we had all this action all day. 341, 350, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 407, 417, 414, 418. Look at all that. Look at that. 427, 436. Look at all this action. Boom, 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 boom. Then it's like 6 o'clock, 625, 630, 730. Look at all that action there. 7 o'clock, right? 730, 740, right? And all of a sudden we're like 8 o'clock. Then it's like 8:16, 9 o'clock, and then notice right here, 9:15, right? But we don't have any moons here. We have RSIs exhausting, right? Meaning that we're getting to the sun. So here's oversold. So H bar is oversold, right? So since we don't have any moon alerts, we can turn around. Let's go look at H bar real quick. So let's take a look at the H bar. So we have an RSI that's oversold, meaning we can probably be getting a moon on this, right? So now we go look at H bar. You see your 2-hour RSI or 1-hour RSI is oversold. So eventually here, we'd be looking for a green moon. So the good news here is the 1-hour RSI is at the bottom. The 2-hour RSI is at the bottom. The 3-hour RSI is getting there. So there's a little more pullback. 4-hour RSI still needs to come down and still has a red moon. So right now, looks like we're going to continue down on H bar, right? So if I go to my 15-minute, I can see here that we have a 15-minute moon, right? Bounce to a red. So right now what I'm waiting for, if I can get a 15-minute red moon here, right? And here we go again. Here's your push to the top and your pullback comes to what? The 50 line, see? Always push.
RSI oversold means it's below the 25?
Yeah, below the 20. Yep, yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, oversold, meaning that, it's looking for to a good spot to be in a buy. Yeah. And then, so it'd be towards the bottom and then overbought will be at the top. Let's see here. Mm,
Okay.
So that's kind of where it is.
I was seeing something about the video. You want your indicators kind of going in the same direction.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah. So these lines here, right? So if you take a look here at your lines,
Yes, sir.
you just want them to kind of like, if you have the like, so this is the money line, right? So this is price action. So when the buyers start actually putting more money in, you want it to bring the line up. So you'll see a one like, okay, let's find an upward one. Okay, here. So example here.
Sorry, guys. I'm like baby brand new.
No, you're good. You're good. That's what we're. No, that's why we're here. Everyone's asking the same questions, believe me. They're just not saying it. All right, so here, orange line is pushing up, you see? Blue line is going with it. That shows stronger momentum because less buyers are being pulled up by more buyers, right? Now, when the buyers slow down, the sellers aren't actually, they're not overselling, they're still going up because it's becoming less and less because now they're reversing their position. And then when the orange starts to head back up, you see, you have the blue line heading up. So that's a really good sign that the momentum is to the upside. So then when you get that little
So the
flat,
orange is your power line, correct?
yeah, those are your buyers and the blue is your sellers. So once you get them both moving in the same direction, when they see how these are basically following each other, that's a great sign that you're going to get a pump because the buyers are overtaking the sellers, and then eventually you get that pop, right? Just like here the buyers are coming in, they're trying to buy, but notice that the sellers are staying level, right? So they're selling just as much as they're buying, and that's why you're not seeing any pump. And then finally here, the sellers overtake the buyers, and that's where you see this come down. And then if this blue line, yeah, you see how that works? Now, if this blue line
Oh, yeah.
would have came down with the orange line here, then this dump would have been further down. But the sellers leveled out, and then the buyers came back and got in the game, right? And that's why they started taking momentum there. Now, as we go down here, so that's something you'll be focusing on to learn as you go forward because we have a thing called volume is king, right? It's all about the money. If there's no money in there, it doesn't matter. So here we're looking at H bar. Notice how see how they're both headed down? See how they both turned down there?
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to build that momentum up to a better short position there.
The
Now,
RSI is already going up.
yeah, and the 15 minute.
Splitting into a short, or is it kind of already there?
Going into a short, right? So you don't have your 15-minute red moon yet, but your 15-minute RSI just crossed. So the possibility of H bars actually keep going into a short is pretty heavy because you still got the 15-minute. Now, keep in mind, the more you have in your favor, the better. Now, we don't have the 30-minute in our favor, so that's why I would be like, yeah, I wouldn't take that. And then if I looked at the 1 hour, you can see that the 1 hour is already at the bottom, right? So I would look at that short and say to myself, like, well, the original short that we want to get into, once again, is the red moon, red trend, right? So red moon, red trend, yeah. And once again, here's the first move, right? There's a bounce, and then this is that trade you want to take right there. So you got that little pullback, right? The trend came in, you take advantage of that first move and you get out. This is why it's important to take profits at a certain level because there's always a bounce. It doesn't matter, right? So here, if we would have got in this trade on that trend, somewhere on this candle here, you get a 1% move, right? So if you're doing a 50x, you scored your 50% and now you're out of the trade. Now you wait for the bounce. Bounce comes in, green moon comes in, pushes up. The 1 hour RSI starts to cross back down. And this is it. Yeah, you would have got a 1 hour alert somewhere on this candle here because it started to give up pressure. And now you're taking advantage of another trade in this zone here. You get your 1 hour moon. So even if you got in on this lower half, you'd be in a trade right now and you'd be working off of this candle in here. So you'd be somewhere in this zone here. So that's a 1.87, right? So 1.87. So that'd have been another 50, 100. So 50x would have gave you another 50 to 75, almost another, 200, like almost 100% on that one. So if you're only doing a 50x, you're closing in there. If you're doing your 75x, then that's where you want to be. That's why 75x is kind of like the goal to get to. But in the beginning, while you're learning entries, you're using a 50x just to take advantage of the moves, just kind of give yourself a little bit of movement there. So that's 150, 75%. So we hit our 50% there and you're out. So now that we're out of that trade, the next trade that we have to wait for is the bounce, right? So here's the trade down. We look for a green moon, which will be somewhere in here. And then when it bounces, if it fails to break out, and then we look for that next move down if it's a continuation, or we get a green moon and we look for the, to ride this next wave up, which would be pushing this back up to this area in here before it makes its next thing, right? So it's all about understanding, the moves it makes. One move, two moves, next move is a push to the top and then back. The back one might be something like halfway down before it continues on to a bigger move. But that's all based on volume. So for us, they were just waiting on indicators, right? So every time we look everywhere, it's like, all right, these are already kind of exhausted. H bar is already exhausted. We need confirmation of the upside, right? So to get along, we'd be thinking of a 15-minute green moon, green trend, right? So then we come down here, we see that we got a 15-minute green moon, right? So it's showing us that there's some possibilities here, but see the 15-minute green moon, no trend, no breakout. Comes back down, 15-minute moon, no trend, no breakout. But what's going to happen here is eventually this RSIs are going to get down. We're going to find a bottom somewhere in here, and then we'll be able to get an H bar buy-in where we'll see a green moon come in, and then we'll have something like the 3-minute green moon, green trend. It doesn't matter. We can't go long on this trade or do any type of reversals because when you're looking here, the reversal or the bounce, right? And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. So here's your 3-minute move, right? So let's say we had a 3-minute moon come in and we think about this trade. So if we would have got in this trade here, we could have took advantage of that move. It's a 0.7, right? Which means if you're doing a 50x, you got the 27% profit, okay? That's
It's not supported in the 1 hour.
right. But this is so it's an example of like the reason why we have 27% take profits, right? It's because even if you mess up, you have an 80% chance of winning, right? So let's say you messed up and you didn't follow the checklist, right? What's the checklist? The checklist is trade with the 1 hour RSI, 15-minute RSI in your favor, right? So that's like the checklist. You want to be trading with the 1 hour and the 15-minute, okay? So 1 hour heading your way, 15-minute heading your way. Let's say you don't check that. You go with a 3-minute green moon, right? And 3-minute green trend. In that case scenario that you have a checklist malfunction and you take a risk, the risk is designed with a 75x leverage and a 27% target, your risk would have been rewarded. You see what I'm saying? So you still would have made your profits. It just would have been an ill-advised trade. And as you move forward, you start to eliminate those mistakes and you get better. Because if you do that trade right there 10 times, during those 10 times, 5 of those you will hit, and the other 5 you will, if you're moving your stop loss properly, once you get above 20%, you move your stop loss to, 5% or 10%, you would get stopped out at that level. And then you would say, out of these 10 trades, 5 of them were bad. But then when we went back and looked, we would have pointed out that you were trading against your 1 hour and your 15-minute RSI. And then you would say, oh, okay. And then you would eliminate 3 of those bad trades. See how like as you move forward, eliminating little mistakes makes you better. and then you'll just get better at it, right? And you'll start to realize like, oh, I don't have that, I don't have that, right? So this looks like a really good long trade for me. It's starting to build momentum. Um, if I looked at it on the overall, right, I'd be looking for a 1 hour RSI to bounce off the bottom. We have that. I would want the 2 hour RSI on the bottom, which we have. And then just for the long sake, I still see the 4 hour dragging me down, right? So I have to be aware of that. But on the overall bounce or whatever, I do have the 1 hour and 2 hour in my favor. So now it just comes down to is the 15-minute in my favor. And as you can see, it isn't. So I can't take a long trade there because the 15-minute RSI is not in my favor. So I would have to allow this to finish its downward movement, which is probably going to take it down to here. And then we would be looking at, then I would be able to consider looking at a trade because let's say if I keep my 15-minute green moon, right? This pulls down to this level here. And once that level pulls down, it bounces. And next thing you know, on my 3 minute, I get confirmation of a 3 minute green moon, right? Now I'm in the situation where it's starting to show me progress to the top. So, that's where I'm waiting for that 3 minute green trend. And then I would be looking for a bigger push to the upside, right? So this is where your mentality is this in the very beginning, guys. Welcome to the TikTok, guys. Don't forget to share the live, hit the plus sign. So the mentality when you first start is just learning what you're looking at, right? And like, okay, I want the 1 hour, I want this, right? So it's learning how to be patient. Like, okay, 1 hour green moon, 1 hour green trend, 1 hour green moon, 1 hour green trend, right? So you start to develop that habit. But in the meantime, if you make a mistake and you're using leverage properly and you're, the RSI checklist, then you save yourself, you know, 7 out of 10 times.
Basically, on this move, everything looks good except for the 15-minute throws us off and screws us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're just waiting for that further pullback. Because then the other thing is that I want to trade with a trend, right? So when you watch those videos, right, the trends are like this, right? So the main videos is called a trading box, right? So if I back out and I look at this totally, right, I can see that on my 4 hour, right, I have a 4 hour red trend, which means currently in this zone here, I am currently in a downward trend. See what I'm saying? I'm currently in a downward trend. Now, if I go to my 2 hour, right, which is my other indicator, my 2 hour just turned into a 2 hour downward trend. So far, both my trends are down. And what do they say? Trend is your friend. So currently, H bar is in 2 down trends. Now I go to my 1 hour for the trifecta. And on my 1 hour, I can see that I've been in a 1 hour downtrend since over here. So now when you start learning trading zones, you will realize that since this point here, you have been in a downward trend. So since this box here, you are operating inside of a downward trend. So our goal inside of here would be looking at this going, okay, here's my 1 hour. See how the 1 hour, this area right here, see how this green area was right here? That was your 1 hour uptrend, right? And that was the section to do longs. Well, that is now gone, and now you're in the section of doing shorts. But we can already see that we had the big short already happen. So now we're at the point of saying, okay, that first move is already done. Now what I need is the 1 hour green trend to come in to give me another opportunity like this. Now, what I can do is, since I have an example, is I can go and measure this and say, okay, that's a 3% move. So I have a good possibility of making the money I want here, but I also have to be careful because you see those candles right there. The reason why we had this big wick down is because we're trading inside of a 4 hour trend, right? Now we're not only are we trading inside the 4-hour trend, but we're trading inside the 2-hour trend, and we're trading inside the 1-hour trend. So now you have more momentum to the downside, right? Which will allow us to catch when we start to see a bottom, right? So if we start to see a coin can like stay at a certain price, it's a good example or good possibility that since we've already been in a downtrend, we already had a bounce on the 1 hour, and this is the second move down. If it's starting to consolidate and we're starting to get a level amount, the odds of it reversing are very good because the only option for this coin is a 1 hour green moon or 1 hour green trend. And the 4 hour has already been there, and the 2 hour is already there as well, right? So the only thing we have is a 1 hour reversal coming up here. So that's just kind of like how you can look at a trade. Now, when you watch your videos, you have trade zones, right? 4 hour trade trend is down, 2 hours currently down. So a trade that we like to do, just so you have it in your mind, is that when you get a 4 hour red trend, right? You trade that short. Then as you move forward, the trend that when you get a 2 hour trend or 1 hour to change, when that 1 hour and 2 hours turn back red, matching your 4 hour, that is the best trades you can take because they have the most momentum. You see what I'm saying? So when the 1 hour went red here and you got that bounce, that second move down was great, but then the 2 hour confirmed it, right? So this is where I want you guys to kind of like understand. So you have a 4 hour trend here. There's a move down, there's a bounce, right? The green 1 hour green trend comes in, leaves, right? Opens up to a secondary pullback, right? Bounces like always. And then here you get the 1 hour trend again coming down, but then you get a continuation. So when you have a 4 hour down, a 1 hour down, and then the 2 hour joins them, this is the easiest trade you can make because it has the most confirmation. So this trade right here has the most confirmation. It has a 4 hour down. It had a bounce. It had a 1 hour bounce. It had a second 1 hour move, right? So let's slide down here. So the 1 hour bounce came in, and then you had a 1 hour red trend come in for the move, and then it confirmed it with a 2 hour. So not only do you have the 4 hour trend, you have the 1 hour trend, and then the 2 hour hit, right? So you have a 1 of 4, right? So the 4 hour sets the tone. 4 hour trend, since it's the higher time frame, sets the tone. The 1 hour lets you know what's happening currently, what you're trading, right? So you're trading the downtrend. When the 2 hour trend joins them, that's the trifecta, right? So that trade right there, yeah, that's the trade you want to become a master of. You want to be the guy that's all you're doing is watching the 4 hour red trends, watching the 1 hour green trend go up, and then when it goes back red, jumping into these areas here, and then you're hunting down the 2 hour to join. And when the 2 hour joins, that's where you take advantage of the trade because that becomes your best trade, right? So this is a guaranteed move. So if you have a bigger bag or something like that, you're doing 75x on there, you're going to get 100 to 200 to 300% on that move. That's the big trade right there.
I don't see that yet. I see all the candles, but I just don't see.
Yeah, you'll get to that one.
4 hours.
Yeah, you're gonna get to that. Right now, we're just kind of covering, what you're gonna be going over in the future. So right now, all you're doing is doing your simple trade. We need a green moon. We need a green trend. So H bar right now, since it has an exhausted 4 hour, 1 hour, and 2 hour trend, I would say the only option for H bar is probably up. So waiting for the next move to the top side starts off with a 15-minute green moon, green trend. So when that comes around, that'll be a good option. So this 15-minute moon turned green. Now remember, there's always two moves, right? 15-minute moon turned green, 15-minute moon is pulling back. See that?
Did you see a red moon on that?
So right here you have a green moon, right?
Right, but will you see a red moon come in there, or will it just turn to green
Might just bounce. That's what we're saying. That's what we're waiting for, right? So a lot of times if guys are looking at this, they might decide that this is another good short. But if this rejects, right, if it becomes a red moon, then we can take advantage of the short. Now, since the RSI is already halfway down on the 15-minute, I'm going to say that it's probably not going to get it. I would expect it.
green moons in a row, though?
Well, you won't get the green moon. It'll reject and start to head up. So it'll come down, hit the line, and then start to head up. And what that's going to do is create a buying opportunity in that area, as long as you end up catching confirmation where the 3-minute moon and trend join you. See? So if you can get a 3-minute moon here, right? 3-minute moon, you can start to see the consolidation here. But now you need the consolidation to be validated by the 3-minute moon and then a 3-minute trend, right? We're giving you an entry somewhere in this point here, and that's the move, right? Which isn't a bad entry, even if we got.
You've got the 1 hour and the 30 minutes, the 15 minutes all red. You might you'd go ahead and take that at a.
Well, you're learning momentum, right? So I don't have to worry about um, I don't have to worry about a 1 hour moon coming in if I can't get this part to go first, right? And what I'm doing here is I'm kind of measuring out like possible trades that I would take, right? So if it does bounce here and starts to move up, going back to its double top is only a 0.6. If it touches the 200 moving average, it's about a 0.87. So which means if I sit here and at some point I have an entry point right here, right? I know that I can get a 0.5 move, right? Here's my price label in here. So any point at 0.7818, if I catch this move to that next push up, I could possibly get a 0.5% move. So if I'm doing a 75X, that's going to give me my 50% profits. So all in all, it looks like a trade that could manifest for me. But if I don't get this first, I can't get the 1 hour. You see what I'm saying? So what you're doing here is you're just kind of like going through the trade possibilities while you're evaluating the trade. See what I'm saying? And then if I,
Push up.
Mhm.
If you get your green moon, and so you would go ahead and make a trade at that point.
Yeah, as long as the momentum's going, right? So if I do get a 50, if I get a 3-minute green moon, green trend, then I can look for that 15-minute entry, right? Which would be a 15-minute green moon and that green trend for that trade.
So you
Now,
wait for the 15-minute green moon.
yeah, but remember,
Wait for the 30-minute, or you would go ahead and make a trade.
so if I take the 15-minute moon and trend, right? I need to have stuff in my favor, right? I need the 1 hour headed up, right? So if my 1 hour isn't headed up at that time,
I got you.
right, I wouldn't take that trade. If my 15-minute isn't heading up with it, I wouldn't take that trade because I need that momentum to give me a chance to get into that. Now, the second part is this, right? When you're watching these momentums build, you always got to stay at the back of your head. To be a safer trade, I need this to make its move and then pull back down and then get the 1 hour moon and trend, and then I will have a better trade. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So what you're doing here is just
You'll get a 3-minute moon, then you'll verify. You'll wait for the 15-minute moon.
Mhm.
Then you can check the 30 and the hour, and they should be going in your direction if it's going to continue on up.
Right. And what I'm really so that's this is how you kind of walk through your steps, and then you can't make any trades unless you have a 3-minute, 15-minute in your favor. Then I would sit back and go, okay, how far is my 1 hour, right? So if I see my 1 hour closing in on the moon and it's like next to it heading in, then I'm going to make the trade because the possibility of getting the green moon is heavy. So if I have my alert set and I start seeing that the 1 hour H bar moon alert is hitting, and I see the 15-minute going, then I will enter the trade because the alerts are coming, every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes. So the odds of it happening are a lot higher. But if I don't have that H bar 1 hour alert yet, right, then I'm going to wait for it until I get it. So I got to have that alert, right? So you start to become a very like systematic trader. because you're like, okay, I want this trade. I should be in this trade. I need my 1 hour. I need my 1 hour. And then finally it alerts and says, okay, you're good to go. And then you get into your trade, right? But you need to always be aware of the trades you want to make. Like, okay, I got my 30 minutes. I want that 15-minute moon and green trend. That's a trade. And then you're looking at your 1 hour and you're like, okay, are you gaining in? Are you in my favor? Is your RSI down? Yes. Is it coming up? Yes. All right, perfect. I have the opportunity to take advantage of this move, and we'll see, like, how it ends up, and that's where you start to eliminate things that you do. And then you start saying, okay, I need this and this. Because what you're doing in the beginning is creating your checklist, right? And when you go through the system, you're just walking you through the questions. Because everybody's always going to have the, okay, what happens here? What happens here? What if I would have done that? Because every time you see a moon, you're going to see a pump, and you're like, shit, I could take those moon pumps, right? That's why in the beginning, we start getting those in your system so that you can start seeing the averages, and then eventually, like, shit, I could just wait for the trend, and then you start doing the moon and trend, and then eventually you get to where you find the exact step by step that you make sense to you, and then you're executing at a higher level. Does that make sense? If I made you wait for the 1 hour moon and trend, you would get bored and you'd be like, yeah, but shit, the 30-minute went off VC. I could have just take that trade. And you'll start measuring all the other trades, and you'll be like, I could have made 2% there, right? Which you're right, you could have, right? So in the beginning,
I'm looking at the 1 minute. The 1 minute is come up. You've already got a yellow moon there, green moon, and then the 3 minute is starting to come up. Okay, I'm kind of watching this.
yeah, right. So you're seeing your momentum. So now you're kind of in the game of like, okay, this is all starting to build here, right? So it's all starting to move in the direction that we want. And then once you go through the cycle of how to get from the 3 minute to the 1 hour, then you start becoming, the guy who's like, because this is all about leverage and percentages, right? There's a bunch of trades that hit every time. You just have to work your way into, you have to pick your particular style, right? Is this your style? Is this your move? This is it. This is that. Okay, that makes sense to me. Yada 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 yada. Perfect, right? And you start getting yourself in those positions to where it all makes sense, and then you got yourself a simple step-by-step guide on what you're doing. K Taurus, I got the RSI pattern down, baby. That's what it's all about. So that's kind of like, as you move through, you're just working your way in. And the secret is when you guys first start off, you guys are kind of working in the lower leverage area so that you can kind of like piece together. So this right here, for me, I'm always, when I'm working a leverage side, I love to do a 70 some percent leverage just because at the end of the day, I want to take advantage of the move, right? So if I get into a move, I know that it's not going to be a super move. So I set my take profit at 27. I put my stop loss at 20. And sometimes I don't even want to lose that much because I feel like I'm getting in when I'm at a good entry. I'll do something like a 10, right? Now I'm like, all right, 10%, that's my move.
Okay, I've been trying to calculate that and get that number. I guess you can just put 10% in there. Okay.
Yeah, as long as when you go to your position, you hit the little plus sign, it says on there it'll have ROE, right? So as long as you have it on ROE, return on investment, it'll calculate. If you don't know the percentage
Okay.
and if you type in the money, so let's say that once this goes into profit, I want to take at least 10%. If I type in the money, right, and I put 77 or whatever, it'll estimate the percent down low. So let's say if my profits are at 79, see how it tells me if I get to 79 cents, it'd be 82%. So once it starts moving and I start going, I'm like, all right, 78 is a negative 14. 78.5 would mean that I'm up 24. 78.2 means I'm up 5%. 78 point, see how that is right there? So the only time you need to type it in is if you're going into the positive side, right? Because this is a stop loss, so it calculates from zero down. So once you get in the profits, you have to put the money here, and then it tells you what percent that you're taking. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you're in that trade now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, it's just So I'm doing a 76. I put my stop loss. So if I take a look at H bar, right, what am I playing? I'm playing my 3 minute. Remember, we were talking about the 3 minute RSI bottom, 3 minute headed to the top, right? It's got the 2 hour trend, right, consolidated across the bottom. And now we're looking to get in this 3 minute moon trade right here, right? So as you get into your entries, the leverage is key, right? So it's how you operate, right? So you can see here now this trade will push up and then it's going to pull back. So no, you never miss a trade. So here's a trade to the top side. It's going to pull back down here, and then if the momentum stays positive, it won't go all the way back down. It'll then come here and then start to go up. Right. So I have an
In that, or do you use a stop loss in there to get out for that upside and then back down?
Yeah, no, I put a stop loss. So right away I have a 10% stop loss, and Luna already kicked into a short there. Has a 10% stop loss and a 27% take profit. Because I'm not expecting it to continue the roll because it's the beginning move, right? C hit today. What up, baby? C hit today, man. The hits are banging out there, boys. Let me go to Luna real quick. So in the beginning, what you want to do is just kind of like, you know, set tight stop losses at 10 and work on your entries. More importantly, take 27% profits. And then when it hits, go again. Let the RSI reset. Watch the trade, build momentum. And then after a while, you'll start to realize what the entry pattern is. And then you'll see the indicators come together and you'll be like, boom, boom, boom. All right, so now here's Luna, right? Yeah, so here's a 3 minute moon on Luna. Trend, bada boom, bada bing. We slide over, 15 minute, crossing back to the upside. If we can get a 15 minute moon, then we can look for the 1 hour, which is, 1 hour RSI still pulling down, so it's not in our favor for a long, so we'd wait on that. And 15-minute RSI is also kind of like in limbo, so we'd wait on that. All right. H bar scenario, 30-minute RSI was headed up, 15 minutes curling, so we're still waiting on that. 1 hour is at the bottom, so we're in a better position on H bar because the 1 hour is towards the bottom, but it's still going to create weak entries just because of the way it's set up. All right, Luna, then we got a short on Luna here for this 1 hour pullback. We're going to set for 27% profits, 0% stop loss, so we don't lose anything. We're going to try to grab a quick 30% on that. And for H bar, same scenario, 27%, negative 10%. And we're going to work on that right there. But when you start focusing on that, I got early on that run. I didn't see Tomo, bro. I didn't look at Tomo. So what I want you guys to do is just take the time, look at the videos, and then get those basic videos watched. And then tomorrow, like what's tomorrow? Thursday, right? So we're gonna have some more trading tomorrow, and then we're gonna get more time. So Thursday and Friday we do a lot of trading during the day, in the afternoon. You want to make sure you got all that up there. If you guys haven't got your indicators yet, we should have them by tomorrow. I'm waiting on the developers to get them over to us, and then we can get in there, guys. But that's the simplicity. What we say, brother? Yeah, Luna did a quick pull because I'm pulling back on the 1 hour. Yeah. So I like to. So for me, I'm just looking at. I'm always testing leverages, because what really is going to come down to. It's going to come down to leverage and control. Leverage and money, right? A certain leverage always hits a certain percent, and once you see that, then you know you have to take your profits, and that's the key. Okay, Torres. Yeah, so that's really where it is, man. Money, taking profits. 27%, 27%, 27%, 27%. Then you start getting better at entries, and it's like, okay, I'm going for you know, a little bit more, right? And you just kind of like move around a little bit more, move around a little bit more, and you just kind of work it over. So it's a very the beginning is just learning the best trades, and then as you go through the patterns of the trades and the indicators, eventually you start answering all your own questions like, well, how come I don't get in there? How come I didn't get that? How come that didn't happen? You know right away, and that's it. So tonight, guys, just go in there and make sure you check out the Discord, go to your videos, get in the videos, and then we can start posting alerts tomorrow. We're going to get into some classes here. Let me go into create an event. So we're going to be inside of, I can't trade live and be in here. So what we'll do here is we're going to do it somewhere else, and that'll be on TikTok. And tomorrow we'll have class on TikTok. Now, everybody, what's a good time? Unmute your mic so you can talk in there and get your talks in. But what's a good time, you guys? You know, everyone that's in the inside of here right now. Okay, everybody. So if you haven't got your indicators, go check right now. If you hadn't had them, go check right now so we can get them in there. It looks like we're getting them back right now. What's a good time for trading? Right. So I think tomorrow I'm going to get in at the early side. So we're going to hop in at probably, yeah, I think I'm going to do the early morning shift one too. So I think we'll start off with the 9 a.m. and we'll trade 9 to 12. And we'll repeat that week. No, what's that day? That's Thursday, Wednesday, right? 17th. We need to move this to tomorrow. Yeah, 9 a.m. 9 a.m. up in there. We're going to repeat weekly on Thursday. Okay, this is live trade edu on TikTok.
Okay. Central, correct?
Yeah, all central. All right, what's the event? Edu trading on TikTok. There we go. Okay, so edu trading on TikTok, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and weekly on Thursday. So we're going to create that event. I'm going to copy that event. I'm going to post, and I'll post that into the trade sessions as well, right? So I got to get these other ones in here. So let me go in here. Let's go look at the events. All right, so events, what do we have? All right, so 1 hour trade sessions tomorrow at 11 a.m. Okay, tomorrow at 11 a.m. So we have trade sessions tomorrow too at 11 a.m. I'm gonna take a 9 to 11 as well tomorrow and work that in, then we'll figure out which one we like there. Wednesday, normal trading. I'm going to share that and we're gonna put that here. Okay, and then the one at 9 a.m. We're gonna copy that. And we're gonna put that there, and then I'm gonna decide. I'm probably gonna remove that later one at 11. Events. Let me get rid of the 11 o'clock one. Yeah, let me. I guess I can edit event.
1 hour on TIA.
Those guys get those alerts. Okay, so those are your trading sessions there. All right. So you see H bar is push, and now see how H bar kind of got real weak right there. So all early moves in the beginning always pull back, right? So once you start testing them out, see how that pullback happened right there?
Yeah.
So, once you start testing them out, you realize like, okay, I need to be patient, right? Because the trade is really the 1 hour. But you have to go through the process of Yeah, you have to go through the process of understanding because the brain is the same thing, right? What do kids always want to know? Why? Why?
It's what you can see that
Yeah,
isn't visible to me right now.
yeah. You're gonna see it too. It's the same shit. I mean, it's the same thing every time. So once you master that and get that kind of set up, you'll be in a really good position, and then you'll understand how to take advantage of the best trades, right? So that's what
So you
we're
think it's gonna be like a light bulb once we see it and we know everything, and then it's we're like, oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, because you're gonna see that's the beauty of like so when we're setting ourselves up, we're doing the same trades over and over, right? Which allow us to anticipate the same moves, right? Because we're first of all, we're getting alerts on 1 hours, right? So when we go look at a trade, the trade has already evolved to a level that allowed a 1 hour alert to happen. So then when we break the trade down, we're breaking down the same patterns that we're gonna see every single time on a 1 hour. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be the same thing. And then we can start clearly understanding where we need to be when it comes to what we're looking for. And then when they start to evolve into, multiple alerts building momentum, then we'll start seeing everything kind of click in and then bada boom, bada bing. And then we're like, boom, we're taking off. You know what I mean? That's the beauty. All right, so everyone, let me run through this real quick. If you're in here, I'm going to go through the to indicators. So right now, if you are um, towing, you got it. Let me go in here. Let's see here. Next one, next one, next one, next one, next one. Okay. So we have Colax King, JN Towing, and Coated Harbor. All right. So is there anyone here? If you so those three guys right there, Towing, Colax King, Harbor. I think I see you in here. Let me go and take a look real quick. All right, so we have Coated Harbors here. Decline, I think you are the king. Okay, so is there anybody here that doesn't have their indicators uh, on their trading view yet that I didn't call out? All right, so let's go into,
Everybody about the fake admin people. They kind of tried to contact me today to get me set up for something, and they're using his name. So
yeah.
if it doesn't have VC,
So make sure, guys, like, so if you go to the rules, right, there's a little rules tab. When you guys first sign up, you're going to see a little rules section. And at the top, you can see here where we point out the different names, right? And what they're using here is an admin, right? And I'll show you here. And it's normally in the welcome kit, right? You slide down. They'll send you a message. And inside that message, the name will have, it'll be a little bit different at the end, right? So it'll say VC admin, but then when you look close at VC admin, there'll be a change in the um, at the name, right? So when you look at VC admin, so another thing is that VC admin is always in red, right? So if you click on the VC admin and you see how it says VC Crypto Nation right here, you guys see that? The fake admin that'll send you a message has an underscore after VC Crypto Nation. So you'll see a little underscore. So if you read it and it says VC Crypto Nation, and there's a misspelling, an extra word, an I that's a one, a period at the end, an underscore in the beginning or the end, or a period in the beginning or at the end, then know that it's not the real admin. The other thing that you guys know is that if you get a message from an admin and you go and look and you realize that so here where's let me see, let me get you a message here, right? So Swervin, when he got that message, right, let me go here to messages, he could go back and now he knows here that I can type in like um in chat, right, so now he knows that's the real admin, right? And then the second thing that we like to do is he's supposed to have that in there, but we'll go here. So you go here, Steven. All right. So here's Swervin, right? Newman, right, Steven? And then we will basically on your Discord, you should always have, or if you have any questions on who we're talking to, whatever, you should always get to where you have something like that verification via email, something that, shows, what we were, etc. So that way you can always go back and say, oh, that's the guy. But if you have any questions or you get contacted, do not reply to any admins. Always send an email. And that's why we have it in the rules section. Like we have where it says, before you do anything, talk to anything, send anything, it says basically here, do not send any money or Bitcoin. Every Discord has scammers, and it's every Discord has this, and etc. And you just want to make sure that everything's spelled correctly. And then if you never send money until you talk to VC, never send money until you check an email at vccryptonation@gmail. Wait for confirmation via email or just call me directly. Right. So never respond to an admin that is not familiar. The other way you can make sure that it's the right admin is that if the admin sends you a message and you go to the rules or the welcome, right? And you see how the admin has a red name? If you right click on the admin and you send a message to that admin, right? Just like if I right clicked on Swervin and I said, yo, and I sent that message. And then above it, the message that I got from the other admin wasn't here, then it's a different account.
Okay.
That makes sense? There'd be like a phone number texting you a message, and it's a copycat number, and you go to the text message, but all our other communications weren't there. Right, so this is going to Harvard all your communication with me. So a lot of times when you first get in there, normally when I say, and this will be set up in the next days, once you guys give your Discord, your indicators and all that, you'll be getting emails and text messages like this that'll verify your email and everything. So then you know it's me, and it'll say like add me as a friend. Okay, this is the only admin, et cetera, et cetera. And that way you kind of like have that all squared away. All right. So now, guys, if you're in here, let's get you guys set up while we're here. We're gonna jump